Hey, what's going on, crypto people? It is your boy, the Crypto Siege. What's another day in the crazy life that is the digital asset space? What is going on, guys? Happy Sunday to you. I wanted to share this article with you guys. I covered this in depth on my last live stream, but I wanted to share this article because I think it's so important today. That I wanted to share it again. I'm going to share bits and pieces of it. Now, when I did the live stream a day or so ago, I actually literally read the whole article. I'm going to tell you the site is philosophiesofmetrics.com. Philosophyofmetrics.com. It's by J.C. Collins. And I got to tell you, it's really great stuff. Very, very good information on world economics. And he is really on point in a lot of different things. This article is dated September 12th, 2018. And he writes, the title of this particular article is XRP, the standard. In a live stream, I asked people as I read through this to tell me how much of this that they felt was applicable, felt relevant, has actually come to fruition in today's world, right? In today's world in 2020. So I'm going to read bits and pieces of this. But I would encourage you guys to go check out philosophyofmetrics.com, and you're probably able to you'll be able to search XRP the standard and find this article. So great, absolutely great read. And I think just like I have, you too will find that a lot of it is relevant into today's world, and not just relevant, just totally makes sense for what's going on. So I'm going to go through just bits and pieces of this. The fear of an economic collapse is a constant emotion which spans across financial, demographics, and business news cycles. Everything from sovereign debt pressures to currency wars, with trade wars sprinkled in for good measure. Sovereign debt pressures, currency wars, with trade wars sprinkled in for good measure, are leveraged as potential sparks for the next crisis, guys. And again, haven't we gone through this already? And again, this article is dated September of 2018. Okay, so let me go down to the part that is most applicable for us with being XRP hodlers. I'm just gonna, again, it's a great read. Go check out the entire article, but I'm going to scroll down to where he starts to talk about the US dollar as a reserve currency and the roles that currency plays. Yeah, it's a great read. It is fairly lengthy. He talks about the IMF. He talks about the SDR in here. I mean, it's just a really, really great read. So here it is. Reserve currencies, with the U.S. being the dominant and primary reserve asset, need to meet those domestic accountabilities while also maintaining international responsibilities. And we've talked about this in the Triffin dilemma. And he actually talks about the Triffin dilemma in this article as well. But he points out two perspectives and some flaws depending upon the perspectives that you have in how the USD reserve currency works. So reserve currency, with the USD being the dominant and primary reserve asset, need to meet those domestic accountabilities while also maintaining international responsibilities. As we've discussed, this is where the problem begins. These international responsibilities include the following: serve as a cross-border payments settlement system, provide global liquidity through financial assets and investment products, provide a pricing benchmark for raw commodities, establish an exchange rate pegging mechanism for global trade and commerce. In this article, you'll read as well that what he suggested is, instead of the reserve currency, the world's reserve currency, trying to fill all four roles, that we have an asset that deals with one of the four roles, right? Or maybe one or two of the roles, and have other assets that deal with the rest of the roles, if that makes sense to you. So you would have, for example, have a digital asset like XRP that serves as a cross-border payment settlements system. I also see that XRP could provide global liquidity through financial assets and investment products, right? I see that as well. So what he's suggesting is having a digital asset for one, a digital asset for another, so on and so forth. Each of these can be broken into more detailed aspects. But for our purpose here, this simple overview will suffice. The USD standard has served all four. See, this is what he said. This is the correct. The United States dollar standard has served all four since the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944. The institutions built around the agreement have developed and enacted policies to support the framework, including admitting China into the WTO. And even the SWIFT system of international payments was created to facilitate the dollar standard and its cross-border payments settlement requirements. And I've said this before on my last stream, is that when we have the WEF and the IMF and the United Nations, and they're talking about digital assets, whether it be CBDCs or whatever, the first thing, they kind of say, well, blah, 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 blah to this and blah, 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 blah to that, right? They talk as though digital assets is just really just making noise. But when it comes to cross-border payments, they all see the tremendous use case for digital assets. They always see the tremendous use case for cross-border payments and digital assets. So let me go down to where he talks about XRP and Ripple. Okay. Here it is right here. So the four functions of a reserve currency, which I went over earlier, should be segregated and given to different supra-sovereign assets. This is what he calls them. Supra, we've seen that before, right? Supra-sovereign assets. As an example, the functioning of providing a cross-border payment settlement standard is now incrementally being shifted towards a more effective and efficient model developed by the company Ripple. Ripple has built a blockchain distributed ledger technology which can leverage its native digital asset, XRP, to facilitate a cost-effective and almost immediate transaction of cross-border payment settlement. Central banks, large commercial banks, global institutions, and cross-border payment service providers are all beginning the transition to the Ripple technology. Again, guys, this is dated September of 2018. The broad integration of XRP into the cross-border payment settlements function would remove a tremendous amount of international pressure from the US dollar. This would allow for an increased reduction of US dollar denominated foreign exchange reserves and begin the process of correcting the monetary imbalance. And guys, so I've said this on the stream before, that we know, because we're in this community, because we're early adopters in this digital asset space, because we're part of this XRP community and family, we know, right? We're way ahead of the game, understanding what the bigger picture is, right? And that is obviously global illiquidity, right? The challenge that what we don't know is where XRP and Ripple fits in terms of, is it their plan A? Is it their plan B? Is it their plan C? This is what we don't know yet. We do know that it's in the plan, but we don't know yet, not yet, if it's their first move, second move, third move. We don't know that as of yet. But when you think about these tremendous things that it could do, the broad integration of XRP into the cross-border payment settlements function will remove a tremendous amount of international pressure from the US dollar. This would allow for an increased reduction of U.S. denominated foreign exchange reserves and begin the process of correcting the monetary imbalances. And you know what we like to say, right? If we know that, then they know that, right? If we know that, then they know that. The moment I grasped what Ripple was building with XRP and the interledger protocol was the moment I understood how it would fit into the international monetary system and why its ascension, its rise, was inevitable. Again, guys, September 2018, this article was written. I encourage you, I strongly encourage you to check it out. I strongly encourage you to check this out. But this still leaves the three, right? This still leaves the three other reserve currency functions, what needs to be considered. Providing global liquidity through financial assets and investment products is still likely to remain with political credit-based currencies, as each nation will continue to promote financial products denominated in its own domestic asset. This is how it should remain for the foreseeable future, as a nation's growth and interaction with the international system will be the largest contributor to both global growth and liquidity. And that really speaks to what my friend was telling me, that, you know, this new US dollar that's going to be backed by gold. You know, some might call it the US Treasury note. They might call it the US Treasury note. They might call it the USN, which stands for new, US new, right? But he said it was going to be backed by gold, but only a portion of it. Even if it's a majority, it wasn't going to be all backed by gold, but it was going to be backed by gold and other, this is what he said, other US assets, right? Providing global liquidity through financial assets and investment products is still likely to remain with political credit-based currencies. So each nation will continue to promote its financial products denominated in its own domestic asset, which is exactly what my friend said. The dollar was going to be backed by gold, but it wasn't going to be 100% backed by gold. It would be backed by gold and other U.S. assets. So this is how okay, I read that already. Neither the SDR XRP by themselves or with each other would be able to provide the gigantic amount of global liquidity which will be required to drive the 21st century growth. So I disagree with that, because I think the price set is a real thing. National currencies, presumably in a new digital version. Again, September 2018, guys. National currencies, presumably in a new digital version, which is what my friend told me as well. A digital dollar backed by gold and other U.S. assets is exactly what he told me. Will interact seamlessly with the new decentralized crypto-based monetary and financial system. Let me read that again. National currencies, presumably in a new digital version, will interact seamlessly with the new decentralized crypto-based monetary and financial systems. And it just makes me, when I read that, every time I read that, I think about the guy from Coinbase, who is a big digital asset fan, moving over to the IMF, number 2 position. XRP and the interledger will provide the bridge to transfer value from asset to asset within the system. The SDR, okay, do I want to read that? Okay, so the SDR could be used to provide the other reserve currency functions, which are currently the responsibility of the US dollar. The SDR, remember, shout out to DNI for the digital nomad investor in talking about the ESDR, the digital version of an SDR, okay? So the SDR could be used to provide the other reserve currency functions, which are currently the responsibility of the US dollar, providing a benchmark for raw commodities and serving as an exchange rate pegging mechanism to handle the accounting function of global trade and commerce, is something which a broader and more reformed SDR could accommodate. And again, we've talked about the IMF actually putting out articles and how that they need to be more active in doing more with the SDR. But just understand something, they know the IMF, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, the UN, they all know that we are moving to more of a decentralized crypto-based monetary and financial system. They know it. That's why it's more than likely going to be the SDR is going to become an ESDR. Managing director of the IMF, Christian Lagarde, at the time, again in 2018, has even suggested that a digital version of the SDR could provide greater benefits to the global economy. And for sure, she is right. Based on what we have broken out above, a digital SDR will be the natural evolution for the multi-currency value composition and would integrate within the new crypto-based framework. But its function would be separate from that of XRP. The SDR, like other digital assets, would also use XRP and Interledger to transfer values. All right, guys, I'm going to end there. I strongly suggest that you go check this out, the philosophyofmetrics.com. Just philosophyofmetrics.com. And you can probably search XRP the standard to get this article. If I remember, I can't promise, but if I do remember, I'll link this in the video as well. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to wrap up this video like I do all my videos and remind you of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating? Or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.